Good afternoon. Happy Savage Saturday. Keepers of the Cash. Welcome to Savage Saturday Comic Review, episode 147, where we are doing part 4 of The Black Tower. Now, to see what happened in parts 1, 2, and 3, please refer to the previous 3 weeks' videos. We are picking up here in issue 4, shortly after Red Sonja was beheaded and left for dead, laying on the ground. All right, and this is going to, again, just like all the other issues, it takes a time jump. And we're going into the future a little bit. Each issue has had a significant little time jump. And we saw Sonja battling these forces throughout the ages up until her death last issue. Again, Amanda Conner, Paul Mounts art on the cover. Another gorgeous cover. Just a thing of beauty, really. That's a gorgeous cover. All right, and of course, written by Frank Tieri with art by Cesar Razek. And I love the art. The writing's great. And again, I'll always keep saying this about this particular run. It has elements in it that I don't like in these kind of type of time periods. But in this particular story, it works because the writing was strong enough, the setup was good enough, and the characters stay in character. There's nothing that happens in this that makes a character act like they're not in character. So the writer understood the Red Sonja character. He understood the time period, and it works because of that. And the art is gorgeous. So let's start up. And of course, you know, I'm putting stuff over here for you. And the storyteller is talking to us through the descriptive boxes here. It says, time passed. And with it came change for the city of Lur and its people, a people oppressed who would remain so, but now a people who would know their oppressor. So Lur, which once was a haven for travelers, then went into debauchery, then went into oppression, is now still in oppression. This poor town has seen all the bad things happen to it. Thraxus. And we see this huge statue. It says, everything was done to suit his whims. The wondrous technology, the scientific advances, everything. Thraxus was everything. Okay, a quick couple of pages there. But setting up that this whole world now revolves around this Thraxus character. And as we continue on, all right, it says, few had the nerve to oppose that notion, but there were those that did. The spawns of the she-devil, inspired by the last hero to truly offer Thraxus a challenge, they alone attempted time and time again to end his reign. And time again, like those who came before them, they failed. And you see this shrine to Red Sonja in the city square. And then on the next page, you see these people that are worshipping Red Sonja and trying to fight back against the Black Tower and its oppressors, the Soulless. You see them dying before them, being just murdered. And it says, as a result, Thraxus himself became crueler to his subjects, more vindictive. Even those who served him loyally, the Sisterhood of Thraxus. All right, we'll take a couple ganders at those pages. Beautiful pages there. And great visual storytelling by Cesar Razek. And what I like about the story is it moves along. It tells you what it needs to tell you, and it keeps the pace flowing. So eventually, they too became nothing more than the playthings of a madman. So they basically became like a harem to him. This one again says one of the Soulless, and when this priestess disrobes her hood, you can see she has short red hair, and it says, thank you for choosing me, my lord. And we cut to the next panel, which is an outside shot of his keep, and it says, remarkable, my dear. And then we go back inside into the bedroom. He goes, as usual. And she's laying next to him, and she says, I live to serve you, my lord Thraxus. And he is outside his armor. We're seeing kind of him for the first time. His armor is in a case. She's sitting up in bed, cloaked in a sheet. She says, but beyond that, there is something I must confess. After all our months together, something I pray to you does not offend you. She goes, I believe I have fallen in love with you, my lord. And he has this cheesy smile. He's like, And he goes, "It is understandable, my dear. After all, am I not God?" And you see the arrogance seeping into everything about this dude. So here we go. Just, again, gorgeous art. And out of these 2 pages, that one shot of her really stands out. And as our tale continues, little sip of coffee. Allergies in full effect. It says, "I'm glad this pleases you, my lord, and I hope you find what I am about to ask equally pleasing, but where do you come from?" And as they're getting dressed, he looks at it, he says, "Come." He goes, "What I show you now, no one has ever seen before." And you see in this great hallway that they're going through, and then they enter like this trophy room. He goes, "This is all I am, all I've collected over the years, all I've vanquished." And you see all these different creatures. You see heads mounted on a wall. And on that wall, you see the head of Red Sonja. Just over his shoulder down here. And again, his arrogance at just how great he thinks he is. And he goes, "Now this is the tower's heart, its greatest secret. You asked me where I came from, girl. Perhaps a better question is when." And there's this little capsule there. He goes, "I come from a long line of time travelers. My people arrived here by accident, stranded here when the time chamber itself was damaged in the voyage. They decided they would make the best of it, blend in with the locals, make a life here until the chamber was repaired. But the locals decided otherwise, showing themselves to be nothing more than the savages they are. My mother barely managed to escape back to the tower, never to set foot outside it again. For you see, she not only feared what would happen to her," and then we get this call back to issue 1, when Red Sonja arrived and she had stopped Fenrir Tolt from raping the woman who was actually this guy's mother. And he was saying, "For you see, she not only feared what would happen to her, but also what might happen to her unborn child." So we got new information at the beginning of this story. We didn't know that she was pregnant, right? It says, "And so I was born sometime later, within these very walls, though unfortunately, my mother did not survive the experience. And I would instead come to be raised by the tower itself, the soulless, the automatons within. It was a lonely existence. My time mostly spent watching what was occurring in the world around me, especially Sonja. She was the one person I admired in this backwards world, her strength, her courage. It is my greatest regret that her and I could not come to an understanding," implying that they should be together. He goes, "As for the time chamber, in time it would be fixed. Though admittedly, I never used it. I never needed to. I have everything I've ever wanted right here. But enough about me. What about you, my dear? What is your story?" She goes, "My story? This is all you need to know, you insane son of a bitch." And she stabs him. So we're getting a quick turn of events here, as we're getting his backstory over here, and then it being brought back to where they are now, and her pulling out a dagger and stabbing him. She says, "My origins remain a mystery, even to myself," as she's standing over him and he's clutching his bleeding chest. And she has a little light sword in her hand. She goes, "Some say Sonja was pregnant the day she died, and I was plucked from her lifeless body. Others say I'm a duplicate, that the sisters somehow managed to clone me from Sonja's remains. Still others believe I am Sonja herself, reincarnated. Whatever I am, one thing is for certain." And you see her lift the sword again. "I am Red Sonja's vengeance," and she cuts off his head. And she says, "Maybe I should mount yours on the wall next, you bastard. Now then." And then she just tosses it aside. Let's fix this mess, shall we?" And you see her climb into the time capsule. So, big turn of events for Thraxus here, as he is summarily just murdered for all his transgressions throughout time in the city of Wyrn and beyond. And we go back to the actual first issue, where we go back to the scene where they had first arrived in the Black Tower here. And you see Thrax's mom being held, and you see Fenrir Tolt beating up her husband before he's going to kill him. She goes, "No, please, we didn't do anything." He says, "You mean other than be demons?" So I wonder what a demon tastes like. And again, the same scene where he was going to rape her. And then you hear blam, a shot, and his whole head is gone. He's laying lifeless. And you see this red-haired woman just sitting there with a blazing laser pistol. She's like, anyone else? And you get a shot from behind her feet, and everyone's just looking at her. And Thraxis' mother, in the white gown, says, thank you. And this woman says, I'm sorry. So, you seeing her going back in time to stop the events that happened that created Thraxis, that made him just the demon of a man that he was. And then you see his mom, you see her down here with his mother, and she's apologizing to her. And you're like, huh. And then in the next page, you see her stab her straight in the stomach. And you see the mom sitting there, she's on her knees, she's bleeding before this red-haired woman. And she goes, why? And the red son look like says, shh, and then slices her throat. She goes, it's all over now. All over, as she disappears into nothing. And then our next panel, we see Sonya back in that time riding up to Lur, and she goes, well, that's new, looking at the Black Tower. So kind of a full circle story here. The one woman giving up her existence in the future to save Red Sonja in the past. And erase all the bad that happened to the world because of the actions of Fengyr Tolt and his people, and the raising of Thraxis by the automatons. And on the next page, Sonja says, and yet I can't explain it, but I have this strange feeling I've been here before. I've seen it before somehow. Guess we have no other choice but to take a closer look. A girl and her and the horse are approaching the city of Lur, which is just going to be the city it once was, where you can find luxury and a safe place to harbor while you're passing through. And thus ends this 4-issue series. And this one I thought was really good, right? We had everything that happened in the first issue coming back and being revisited in the 4th issue as this woman, who may be a reincarnation of Sonja, may be her child, sacrifices herself to erase all the sins visited upon Hyboria by Thraxis himself. Ultimate sacrifice on her part to give the world back its better standing before he was there. So it's a story of sacrifice, a story of Sonja's nature, who she is always the hero. She's always fighting for the side of good, regardless of the odds, up until her death, and then someone, either her reincarnation or her child, coming up to fight the same fight she fights. Because this idea of Sonja and her ideals doesn't just fall through the cracks. It's so strong, and she made such an impression in the life that she led that other people are willing to take up her mantle and fight for their survival and the survival of others in the face of this great oppression. And all this oppression created by an act of hate way back in issue 1, which just reverberated throughout the time then, and just kept getting worse and worse and worse from one action. And so I thought it was a fun story. I thought I had some fun little takeaways in it. I thought I had a cerebral part that was a little understated. It just kind of let you sit there and think on it and mull it. It wasn't super deep, but it had something there. It had a little bit of meat under the skin, right? It had something for you to grip onto and chew on and enjoy. Overall, I'm going to give this whole story an A. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was good. Like I said, it had elements in it I don't care about, that I don't usually want to see in this time period. I don't want to see time travelers. I don't want to see future things. But in this particular story, it really worked out quite well, and I thought it was well done, especially since Sonja was always in character. She was written intelligently. She was written with a heart and an understanding of who this character is. And that's always key. And so overall, the art, as you said, I've said it every issue, it's an A+ for me. The art is fantastic. I absolutely love Cesar Razek's art. And the story by Frank Thierry, I thought was really well done. So good job all around on this. I hope you guys have enjoyed this 4-parter. And until next time, thank you for watching and keep it casual.